From the Opelka Studios in Oklahoma City, you're watching the Press Row. I'm Jenny Carlson with Barry Trammell. Press Row is brought to you by Cox High-Speed Internet. Today we're playing the Inbox, Barry. We've got questions that have come to us via email. The first one is from Bernie, and he talks about ways that Oklahoma and Oklahoma State might go about rekindling interest from the Pac-12. He says, hey, just float the idea that OU, OSU, and Mizzou are interested in joining Texas A&M and moving to the SEC, and Larry Scott would come running. Is this possible?
I think it's possible. I think it's likely. I don't think the Pac-12 wants OU and OSU and Texas to go anywhere because I think that remains their best options. I think the Pac knows that eventually 16-team conferences are coming, but they didn't want to take them now under the current situation, but they certainly don't want to lose Texas and Oklahoma. That's their prime options.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But I wonder if Larry Scott would say, wait a second, I know you guys don't really want to go to the SEC and call their bluff. And I get the feeling like Larry Scott and especially Oklahoma have a really good relationship. And I'm not sure Oklahoma types want to muddy the waters too much. I think this might be a risk.
If you want to play poker,
well, that's true.
The Sooners could, Larry Scott could counter and say, we're just going to invite Oklahoma and Oklahoma State and Kansas and Missouri and just freeze out Texas. I mean, two can play poker.
No doubt about it. Hey, here's another email. And this one asks the question, is the Pac-12 serious about not expanding, or is this just more posturing? What do you think?
Well, I think they're serious now. They got tired of Texas. They don't want to deal with Texas. They're learning what everybody's learning, that Texas is insufferable. Welcome to our world, Larry Scott. The difference is if you're the Pac-12 commissioner, you don't get to beat Texas on the Cotton Bowl floor. So the Sooners can work out their frustrations. The Pac-12 has to wait to a bowl game.
Yeah, I think eventually the Pac-12 does want to expand. They may want to let the ink dry a little bit on that new stationery they've got after changing their name this year. But I think Larry Scott is a visionary. I think he's a guy that understands that super conferences are probably the way that college football and college athletics are going. So expansion at some point, yes. But right now, I think he's saying we're not just ready for that right now.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's just the timing didn't work out. The Longhorn Network muddies the waters. OU and OSU by themselves out there don't work at all. Pac-14, bad idea.
All right, our next email is from Tom in Florida. And he wrote to you, he said, good article. Hey, this is a nice guy. About getting tough with Texas. However, it should have been written when Nebraska and Colorado were talking about leaving. Why wasn't President Warren at OU saying all of this then?
Well, I don't think that the Big 12, the presidents at OU, OSU, Missouri, wherever, I don't think they realized the frustration level with Dan Beebe in the Nebraska situation. I think they learned about it in the A&M, and that's why we're to the point where now the Big 12 is going to get a new commissioner. I don't think that the other schools in the Big 12 learned that the frustration level was so high. Mm-hmm. They heard Nebraska talking about it, right. They dismissed it. Now they see that there was some truth to it.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think the Nebraska thing, and I know I thought this was just Nebraska sour grapes for, the Big 12 deciding to put their offices in Texas and, always sort of having the Big 12 championship game in Texas. I thought it was just sour grapes myself, Barry, but as you listen to some of these stories from sources, it really sounds like Texas A&M might not have left if there was a better feeling coming from the conference. I agree. I don't know if anybody had quite the understanding here.
The theory is Dan Beebe played the appeasement card. He decided to keep the best way to salvage the league, keep the league strong, was keep Texas happy, appease Texas. The problem was other people did the same thing. Oklahoma, Nebraska, Texas A&M. They voted with Texas in the early days of the conference in terms of revenue sharing and other things. So a lot of blame to go around. I don't think it all belongs on Dan Beebe's shoulders.
Okay, last email. And this one came to you, Barry, from Tim. And he said, I think you were on point when you said Florida State's defense befuddled Landry Jones. I think that Josh Heupel has a long way to go as coordinator. And he basically said that the coaches had nothing to do with this victory against Florida State. Barry, how do you respond?
Here's the way I respond. Folks, go to the end. Can we go to the end of this email? Here's what he said. He says, OU came out with a nice road to win with little help from Bob Stoops, Josh Heupel, or Brent Venables. So the reader is obviously right. OU is terribly coached. They're horribly coached. They have no idea what they're doing, and the superiority of their athletes overcame Florida State. That's what happened in Tallahassee. I don't know. If you want to say Josh Heupel didn't have a great day, you can say that. You're an idiot, but you can say it. But Brent Venables, it was one of the epic games in OU defensive history of the last 13 years. It was a fabulous defensive performance.
I think, to me, this just underscores people who will never let the coaches get any credit for anything. Folks, what OU did at Florida State, fantastic all the way around, from the top to the bottom. Everybody contributed to this game. You don't go to Tallahassee and win without everybody being in the boat.
Look how Florida State scored. They scored 13 points. 2 long field goals.
Right.
46 and 53 yards. They weren't like goal line defensive stands and they come out and kick field goals. And the touchdown was a fluke. I mean, it was a 3rd and 28 and he just throws one up and OU's got 2 guys there. Can't be in any better coverage, and they just didn't make the play. The Florida State guy made a great play. I'm hard-pressed to think of a better defensive performance by a coordinator. I don't know how a guy could coordinate a better defense.
Well, now people are going to be challenged to send an email that will get you to do this again. Hey, thanks for joining us on the Press Row. And remember, Press Row is sponsored by Cox High Speed Internet.